with metathesis at home. And then right now I'm just writing the article for publication, and for the further study I will go to Thailand. For looking forward to the qualitative study, I will use the semi-structured interview for known about the need and the information that they would like to do during they carrying the patient at home. This is scope of my project, and right now I'm just studying from the family caregiver in my PhD project. Thank you.
Thank you. Mandy, do you want to, or Lisa, because I was thinking if we have everyone, because I know that sort of with new members, it's nice to hear what sort of others are doing as well. So I'll actually go sort of around. So Mandy, do you want to go next? I put you on the spot there. Just a quick update of what you do.
Yeah, hi everyone. I've got an adjunct role at Edith Cowan University, and I'm a senior lecturer at Auckland University of Technology in New Zealand. My focus of research and teaching is children and young people's nursing, and very much about child and family centre care, which is literally a morphed one of family centre care and child centre care, now being child and family centre care. So yeah, welcome to the group. It's lovely to meet the new members.
Karen or Lisa, who wants to go next? And then I'll go Julie and Hazel.
Can you go?
Yeah.
I'll fight you for it, Lisa.
No. I really don't mind, Karen. It's entirely you go now. You go now. I'll go next.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Plummer. I have a joint appointment between Queensland Children's Hospital as a research fellow and Griffith University as a lecturer in nursing. So my research focuses on paediatric pain, and that's where I'm situated at the hospital in anaesthesia and pain.
And Karen wrote the May newsletter, which was really interesting. And I just added and did the editing around it to make it sort of hopefully interesting for those to share with colleagues. Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, thanks, you made me look good, Elizabeth. Considering I wrote it very quickly. I shouldn't admit that.
Yeah, and I'm Lisa Whitehead. I'm Professor of Nursing Research at Edith Cowan University, which is in Western Australia, just outside Perth. My main area of research is around chronic conditions and how individuals, families and communities can work together to improve health outcomes for people living with a whole range of different chronic conditions and often multiple conditions as well. And I've been sort of linked to IFNA since 2009 was the first time that I went to a conference, and got involved with the association ever since then in a whole variety of different roles and different committees. So nice to meet some new people today. It's fantastic.
Yeah, excellent. Yes. Hazel, I noticed you were off mute, so do you want to go next, and then yourself, Julie, and then Lindsay?
Yep,
and then
sure.
Disha.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Hazel Rance from Griffith University. Elizabeth and I have worked together for a long time, and probably over the last 7 or 8 years have worked on a number of projects related to family nursing and family-centred care. And I think my focus is probably more learning and teaching, although I have done some interesting work with nurses working with refugee families. So I have presented that at a couple of conferences, and we provided a report for Queensland Health related to those findings. And hopefully, if I ever get a chance, I'll get the findings published in an article. And I guess the other thing that my focus is, and happy International Nurses Day, everybody, for Friday. I'm also as well as being a program advisor, I'm also international lead for our school. So I work a lot with our international students. So it's lovely to meet some of our HDR and postgrad students online and in this forum. So if I can be of any assistance or help, let me know. And I also work with our undergraduate international students, and there's some research there waiting to happen around the impact of lack of family, I think, for these students working and living in Australia, where they don't have those strong family connections, which are so important and so much a part and pivotal to their culture. So something that I'm hoping to explore, and looking forward to seeing some of you at the conference. Amanda, did I hear you say you are going? So Elizabeth, I think we definitely need to have a meet and greet for our chapter, because I think we've only met about 10% of the actual people that are part of the participants, and we've got quite a number attending the conference, even though we thought it was going to be a little bit less.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think I will talk to Debbie about that. We have, that was one of the things on the agenda. I think Lindsay, that has sort of about because all the different research groups like to meet, and so we did. We got that the last one, which was in Washington, I think, the last face-to-face, and that was quite good, because that's sort of where we really met Mandy and Lisa as real people, not just pictures on a screen. So yeah. Julie, do you want to just sort of give a little insight into your?
Yes, kia ora. My name is Julie Glamaris, and I live and work in Auckland, New Zealand, and at the Auckland University of Technology with Mandy. My background is child health nursing, and my research interest is in children and young people's experiences of long-term illness and their participation, and I guess voices as consumers of healthcare, and always, of course, in the context of family, because children and young people don't exist without the context of their family. So I'll hand over to someone else.
Thanks. Lindsay?
Yeah, hi, thanks. Sorry for turning up late. I wasn't able to. I had a back-to-back meeting. I'm Lindsay Smith. I'm an academic at the University of Tasmania. My, I suppose, title I played with down here is Deputy Chair of the Tasmanian Human Research Ethics Committee, which is a nice service role that I enjoy doing. I am a board member of IFNA at the moment, up for re-election. I'm not plugging anything. However, but that's been good. I've been a member of IFNA since, paid up member since it started, what was that, 10, 11, 12 years ago, something. But of course, just been more engaged in the last 5 years. It's just an interesting collaboration of people internationally. It's an excellent way to connect with people that you were reading their articles and research about, and they're so willing to share, which is great. So my area of research is in family strengths, but I tend to have the engagement with families with children. But of course, family strengths is across the lifespan. So I'm a bit across the lifespan a bit, I suppose, and I've been engaged in some policy development in Tasmania with the Child and Youth Wellbeing Strategy, which has taken probably 6-8 years to get to a point now where the strategy is being rolled out, which is nice to have quite a lot of funding, like, with $80 million for Tasmania is a lot of money in the child and youth wellbeing area, which is nice to see. So, and that's connected through the work with the RACI, Australian Research Alliance for Children and Youth. That's my brief. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jisha, do you want to just do a little of where you work and your sort of study that you're heading out, and the fact that you're actually going to be going to IFNA as well, which is excellent.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hello, everyone. My name is Jisha. I work in a company, an aged care company, and in a management role as a regional manager. I am studying at Griffith as a master for the Masters of Advanced Nursing Practice, and I'm doing my research. Dr. Elizabeth Coyne and Hazel are my supervisors for this study. I'm doing a study focusing on elderly residents and their families. So my first part of the study is understanding the impact of transition into residential aged care for families from cultural and linguistic diverse background. I'm doing an integrative study here, focusing on families. Also seeing that we have Australia is becoming very multicultural, and the transitioning into aged care on a day-to-day basis, the population has gone up. So focusing on integrative review, at the same time doing a literature review. The purpose of the study is more looking into cross-cultural communication, how to improve communication with people from cultural and diverse background in aged care, supporting staff members, looking at cultural expectations on family members and what are the barriers to them, and also reciprocities, how reciprocities is a factor in taking care of people from cultural and linguistic diverse background. Thank you.
Thanks, Disha. Okay, so with view of the time, that was excellent, and it's good to see some new members. Bo said she would share the newsletter with a couple of the other students, because we at Griffith actually got a fairly several of our main researchers, although they don't sort of say they're family researchers, their research is with now embedded with family and consumers, which is good to see. And like, I don't mind that they don't actually say they're doing family research, but they really are doing research which extends past the actual patient. And so their students then have been very interested in the work that sort of that I do and the international family nursing groups, which has been good, because it's then that sort of connection with the wider international researchers, which are looking at sort of progression with disease using the family focus, which is an excellent way to sort of ensure, hopefully, better outcomes. So we didn't really have much on our agenda today, except as we sort of head into the conference. And so the workshop, we've got an outline that is prepared in relation to our workshop, which is looking at cultural safety. And it's we already have basically Debbie has with Lily at our 50 participants, and so she did ask if I was willing to increase it, and I did increase it to 70. I did have Hazel's sort of voice in my head, don't go above 70, but I was just very excited to see that we're reaching the cap, because that's such a good thing, and I think it'll just sell us as researchers, and sort of just what we're doing in Australia with our and New Zealand with our frameworks, which will be good. So just moving ahead on that. Lindsay did also remind me about the survey. So I have pulled that survey. We've been over the last, well, it's nearly 18 months actually, by the time we got ethics through across Australia and New Zealand and multiple sites. We did a looking at nurses' perspective of nurses' attitudes towards family in care, and so we've got sort of about just under 300, 290 participants that have done that, and quite a lot of qualitative comments. So yeah, just really need to push that ahead. I said to Lindsay, if I could get a full week off where that's all I was doing, it'd be great. Unfortunately, that never happens. But yeah, it is sort of coming priority as we're getting up to the conference, because I really wanted to not just do a 15-minute conference presentation, but actually really push the article forward so that we finalise and complete that bit of research. And we've done the other part of that, which is looked at what the Bachelor of Nursing internationally, or no, in Australia, does provide as teaching, which is to improve students' understanding of family assessment, family communication. And so we've sort of really got a nice 2 studies, of which we should get quite a few looking at sort of strong publications, because Lindsay and Cherie originally made the actual survey. So we had used a validated and a non-validated survey. So yeah, so we should be able to sort of actually get that going. So that's looking good. Then, so that any other comments on that as we start to prepare for the conference? I suppose, as Hazel said, I will organise a room, or we could even, it's such a busy time, I find, conferences, because we've tried before to sort of have like a dinner together, but that never ends up because everyone's so busy. But
maybe we could flag a lunch, because I'm assuming they're providing lunch. So if we had, maybe on the first day of the conference, if we had lunch, and then if we could identify a time amongst each other, because I think we're all no doubt presenting at different times, whether we then want to get together for more of a meeting rather than just a catch-up conversation.
Yeah, and we need to make it because we will have other people often. I normally get the sort of the word from Debbie, so there'll be other Australian and New Zealanders who are now members of IFNA but don't know about the chapter, because it's sometimes people come because they've just started researching, saw this conference, gone to sort of then joined to go to the conference, and then may not realise we've actually got our own chapter as a standalone in Australia and New Zealand. So just to make sure that we pick up any of those people that have come to the conference. And I suppose then while I'm on the conference, and Lindsay sort of will know this as well, the conference committee, I'm also sit as the secretary on the board, and the conference committee, there's been discussions about where to have the next conference, because they obviously haven't got a spot. Now, Australia was picked as the second most, when people were asked where they wanted to go, Australia, when I saw the stats, like Dublin, they wanted to go back to Dublin, but then Australia was actually the next place they wanted to come for a conference, which is a little scary, but also very positive. So I haven't put a bid forward, because anything that it needs to be with our chapter, because we will then form that main bit. So yes, I'll sort of hand over to Lisa, who's got a hand up there, because I was like, oh, I'm not sure if we're ready for it yet.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, because part of my funding to go to the conference is from Business Perth, and so as part of that application, I indicated that I'd like to advocate on behalf of Australia, and of course particularly Perth, to host the conference in the future. I was thinking it would be not the next one but the one after, because usually it goes North America, then somewhere that isn't North America, Europe or elsewhere. And then back to North America again. But when I emailed June, I think it was, Horowitz, yep. She indicated that actually it hasn't been decided for the next conference yet, and it's up for discussion, and was quite interested in Australia. So no, I'm keen. Yeah, I'm keen, whether it's the next one or the one after.
So if it came, so then it looks like you've got support, because I did the Gold Coast Convention Centre, because our university sits beside the hospital, which sits near the convention centre, and they did put out grants, but they didn't, when they looked at the stats of this conference, they didn't like the numbers. They said that
wasn't big enough.
It wasn't big enough.
Yeah, Business Perth were pretty interested in the numbers. They thought it was good. Yeah, it's Perth. It's a bit different to Gold Coast, I guess. But
because I think Gold Coast we're looking at in excess of 500, and I don't think I've ever been to one that's been that many. I think it's usually around 350 to 450.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And they said that I sort of commented that with it being this side of the world, you get a lot more of the Asian, African people coming. But it, again, they weren't sort of convinced. But interesting, if it's in Perth, then it certainly makes a step for Asian Africa a lot easier. So Lindsay, you were going to sort of talk?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I agree with the locations. What need to consider is the access for people, because one of the points in past conferences has been that if it's not in an international location for flights, it's too expensive for people. So in a sense, perhaps, Gold Coast and WA in Perth, they have different groupings, but I think at the moment the big hot movement in IFNA is the Africa chapter, and so that might be considerate of their increased interest, because they tend not to have as much capacity to get too far. I did wonder whether Africa might want to put one there for that very reason, so that it helps them. So in that sense, I think regionally that's the region that IFNA might be being able to draw on. And the other area that IFNA's trying to grow through is in the, as Elizabeth said, Asia, but in particular in India. So that's an interesting one, but there's nothing yet formal there. So those the grouping of those three on that side of the that quarter of the globe in that little triangle, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
And you would definitely have a lot more push in your university, because like Hazel and I did send a lovely letter to our head of school to basically be told that is not the focus of our research. So I can't remember what the actual words were, Hazel, but I was like, it was really just put us back in our little boxes. And so like I think you do need to have, if you to have a conference that's close, you do need your support of your school, and you are definitely sort of then able to build that support. And so that may be a good way. So we could maybe then have further conversations, Lisa, about putting the bid forward with Perth.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I sent some details through to June. But as soon as I hear anything back, or if it's all on, or we'll take it from there, and definitely be in touch and have a chat and things. But keen to put Australia on the table. But Lindsay, the sort of strategic development in other areas is also very important for IFNA too.
Of course, New Zealand had a bid a while back.
Yes, I put that in.
I was going to say, were you involved in that? I thought you might have been. Yeah,
that was back in 2010. But unfortunately, we had the earthquake, and it completely wiped out all our infrastructure, and no one wanted to come and see us. Funnily enough.
Well, that was the same with the Japan
before
one.
the earthquake. And that was it. Nothing.
I'd be happy to go to Perth. I quite like Perth. I've only been there once in my life, so I'm happy to go there again. And it certainly, it takes a bit of sort of, we'll all be there supporting you, Lisa. But it takes a lot of the sort of the pressure off having it in our sort of with our university, where we're sort of fighting for support.
It's a lot of work, but so definitely everyone's support. If we were successful at some point in the future, the next one or one after, or some other time, I think the key thing will be probably, like Lindsay said, it's accessibility. And I know from when I put the bid in for New Zealand a few years ago, it was all about accessibility, direct flights, having a location where you've got the hotel and the conference as close together as possible, ideally in the same location, that sort of thing. So, flights have started to come back online for Perth, direct flights, but whether or not it meets the mark, I have no idea, to be honest, how many people would be able to fly in direct, or whether they'd actually have to go to the East Coast first and then across, at which point they may just say, let's have it on the East Coast. So, we'll see.
And that's one of the things with having it at the Gold Coast, because we have an international international airport. We've got the train, because we had the Commonwealth Games here, and the university, the hospital, the convention centre are all within walking distance. And so all the infrastructure is set up, and we've got, this big push, because we're having the Olympic Games in Brisbane in 8 years or something. So it's definitely infrastructure is being built, which does make traveling, very easy. And also the hospital care is very open to having international visitors and that. So maybe in their discussions, if they're interested in having it in Australia but not in Perth, then I'm sure we could convince, maybe even a discussion, Lisa, with our head of school, Anne Bonner, that you may be able to convince her that it's a good thing, family nursing, because she does family with her research. She just doesn't see herself as family nursing researcher. It's interesting how people sort of see their focus of their research. So that was, yeah, so that was sort of that discussion. The next point I had is we looked at the newsletter, so we've got a nice focus. So the next one is we had in June mental health, and that was with Lisa and your sort of connections, and probably that will be Amanda. And so as Karen found out, you don't actually need to give me a lot. Literally, I think it was about 500 words, and then I will put together, smooth it out, add some pictures, and yeah, because the thing with the newsletter, it needs to have one bit of strong information, and then some active links that people can use, which is why I used all the different pediatric assessments, which were about pain. Hopefully they're what's currently being used clinically, because I don't actually work clinically at the moment in peds, or haven't for a long time. So hopefully they were okay, Karen, my little pictures for the newsletter.
I thought you did a great job. I just gave you a chunk of text and like a table, and you made it look amazing. So no complaints here.
Yeah. So yeah. So with it, and a lot of times it literally is just like pulling bits from your own research articles, and yeah, we'll make it up, because it's be good to have their mental health, and it'd be nice if we might also try, like I sort of had the pediatric tools as the recommendations, but you know, if we did mental health focus, maybe we could use look at some of the current mental health tools and ways of supporting. So the newsletters sort of provides information and understanding, but then also something for the clinicians, and just remember to keep sharing it with any clinicians and people that you work with, that sort of, you never know sort of the use that the newsletter has, because often it's read by such a range of people. And then in the rest of the year, we've sort of basically had people setting for, and then in October it was in New Zealand, that New Zealand culture, which should be fairly easy, Julia, because we will have also done then the work with the conference workshop. So then moving on, I did manage to meet my deadline of the workshop, and we had our meeting, which was quite good. What we're going to do with our workshop is really looking at a focus on small amounts of information with activities embedded. So when we've got our groups, we should hopefully be able to do, this is sort of what's best practice, this is what our research is, and then open it to our participants of in discussion, also to bring ideas, so they go away from the workshop with sort of a bit of a toolbox of how understanding how they can sort of recognize their own sort of personal experience, but to then really look at that cultural safety and understanding of what the patient or family that they're working with, how they feel, how do they feel in that arrangement, and so we've got sort of both age groups. We've got Natalie's work with the gay and lesbian community, her research, and so we will have really a great workshop, and as Debbie said, it is being already well sort of enrolled in, which is excellent. Lindsay, you're looking at developing the lead on the survey development.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I do need to circulate that. It's buzzing around my head as you said, all these things. Pull the data, and what I'll do for those amongst us on that little team, Julie and I are going to get together and present on behalf of us all. And there's a small group, and basically I think what the requirements will be for us is I'll just put out a plan for the evaluation of the tool. As you said, it's that section is a new tool, and then the purpose, of course, is the paper about that. But the presentation at the conference obviously needs to just indicate rather than definitively share the publication material. But that's the plan towards getting a publication. So it's a good stepping stone. It was a great time point for us to get the data looked at. So yeah, let's do that. You said you pulled, Elizabeth. Did you send it to me yet, or are you going to later today? Or?
I will send it to later today. Yeah. I have sent it
yeah.
once, but yeah, I sort of had a look at it the other day.
Yeah, we looked at the preliminary data, and it did look like the tool development element was sound enough to talk about.
Definitely, yeah.
I trust that it still will be when we look at the full data,
Yeah.
but we will find that out.
And see, the beauty might be to actually then do another follow-up survey using that tool to really then validate it.
Yeah. My plans on that, I've got a master's student, hopefully will continue through and do that. That would be nice.
Yeah. And then Hazel, you were looking with Natalie and myself in relation to the actual Bachelor of Nursing and sort of who was presenting or teaching family nursing. And so we sort of need to keep moving on that one as well, don't we? Had you had a chance to have a look at that again?
Yeah, look, there's still a few gaps with some of the universities that have got very little information available publicly about what's included within their courses and subjects. So we probably need to draw a line under that and say, look, there's probably, I think I've got about 16 or 17 universities in there now. So I think that's probably a good cross section for what I need to present at the conference. I think we probably need to do another bit of a deep dive and maybe divvy that up between you and I and Natalie, if we're going to look at publishing this or whether we just publish part of it as part of a bigger study.
Yep. And so we had talked about sort of New Zealand, so maybe whether Julie and Mandy wanted to have a look at those New Zealand schools of nursing and what they had within their family nursing courses, if there was what sort of information they were using and teaching and assessment frameworks and family theory they were using.
Yeah, and I think if we were going to publish, it would have a bigger impact if it were across both rather than just Australian. Yeah.
And then the last aspect was just the update from the board. I missed, but there was a board meeting with all the other committee groups. I totally missed that. I find that
you just had travelled that night, and you were you just come back from, I think, was it something Europe? Was it?
Yeah, I travelled 12 hours from Sydney in the car.
Yes, that's right.
The people in Europe had no concept that you would drive for that. Like if you drove for 12 hours in Europe, you probably would have driven literally from Russia to
Yes, that's right. Yeah, no, that was a good meeting. Lisa was there, I remember. Yes, and it was just nice to hear across the spectrum. I suppose the only thing with the new group of people with us today is the student engagement group.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so there's a really strong student engagement group that are going to actually meet in at the conference, but they're trying to work out how to have their meeting both in person and plus, a virtual connection, maybe, through a Teams meeting or something at the same time. The student engagement group is probably, a little bit centric to Europe and North America at the moment, time zones, but that's because that's where the people are. And so that's the beauty about this one, of course, for us, we meet at a time that's most relevant for us. But the student engagement group's still lovely to get involved in, and that was the new thing. And the other thing from the board, we did talk earlier about the bylaws, and that was being updated, and the progress for the bylaws, it's in the last minutes, is that rather than voting on them and fully at the conference, which in the past we haven't really voted on them, what happens at the conference, the proposed changes get presented, and then if no members vote afterwards to change it or not, we will still do a presentation at the conference, but we probably won't be ready to vote straight away. So those people who have invested in the bylaws, your comments are still being considered. So there's a plan. There was a lot of comments, which is lovely, which is why it's taking a little bit longer than predicted. I think that's all from, And then, of course, the conference. We're talking about the conference. And, of course, they've opened up the online tickets but that's not every session, unfortunately. It's just a number of sessions. They've worked out. They had to get some new equipment in, apparently, which IFNA had to support the venue with. So that's that good thing that IFNA has invested in to make the conference virtual as well for those who can't be there.
Yeah, and so the equipment, the IFNA is buying it, and then the university is donating their technicians' time, and then we'll leave the equipment with the university. So it was a bit of a sort of, it was going to cost less to do it that way than to actually have a company come in. So that was quite an interesting discussion that went on in the board. The other thing the board's been doing is, I don't know what it's called. What's that big document that we're reviewing, Lindsay? Which is, and so it's not the bylaws, but it's, what is it?
It's trying to pull together the policies and the guidelines and how that aligns to bylaws, and that's hence the crux of the bit of the difficulties, because sometimes guidelines go in a different direction, which of course they're more flexible too, and they need to be more able to respond on a daily, to the things that are happening. It's quick, whereas the actual bylaws only get reviewed every cycle, every couple of years at the best. So yeah, it's just trying to pull together. The organisation as IFNA has actually grown quite substantially in the last couple of years, which is nice to see. Growth, of course, needs to be managed and shared, because some of the issues where people weren't knowing how to connect to some of the other IFNA groups. So if anyone wants to connect to one of the IFNA research groups or education groups, or practice groups, or ethics groups, just let Elizabeth and I know, so we know who to contact, because it's not necessarily easy to see on the website all these different groups and who to connect. So that's what that's trying to do, is trying to clarify and streamline those sort of connection points. But in the meantime, by all means, just ask us.
And the beauty of, and then like this is sort of something that you learn as you go on in your academic career, is the beauty of having those international connections. They are definitely worth higher brownie points in career progression, but every time you have a publication with an international person, it actually scores more points as well. So even like I've on the in the research committee, we've been looking at dyads, research with dyads as opposed to research with family, and so this is a very complex team, and that publication is being now reviewed by the Journal of Family Nursing, and so there's definitely the opportunity to be involved in these big groups, and it just is that connection. Then if you're wanting to to travel and have other connections, like even as in our group of Lindsay's presented for Mandy, and our Karen Depravink from Denmark came across, and so there's opportunities there for that international travel and our connections all over the world. I do send our newsletter to the Japanese chapter and also the African chapter, but I haven't actually had, I didn't, I sort of just did not get a chance to follow up with either of those people to sort of invite them to the meeting. But I think the thing is the time span is often a bit awkward as well, because even across ours it makes it difficult. So it's always a little easier with Asia and Africa, but it's still several hours difference. So that sort of just means that we're nicely moving into like, we might be small in our chapter, but we're definitely part of that big international organisation, and well recognised now with the UK. Like they've just gone from sort of to bigger, and they're doing webinars. So I do have that, we eventually will have that ability to have sort of those sort of presentations, and I think definitely having the conference here when we really have those strong family researchers coming down to Australia, it will really sort of, I think, build Australia's connection and identification with family nursing as actual a discipline of research, not just something that you do because you feel you should. We looked at doing the call for funding, but it was a bit tricky and we didn't get our application in. But the thing is, it'll just sit there for the next time round. And that actually brings me to the end of my notes, because this was sort of more just we didn't have anything major to look at, more just an update and a catch up. We looked at the sort of mentoring, and Lisa was going to present. So maybe we've got sort of June is when we've got no meeting because it will be the conference. But maybe in July, Lisa, if you wanted to sort of move your presentation, unless you wanted to do it in the next 10 minutes, or
No.
I think probably.
No, I think July. Let's go July. Yeah. Thanks, Elizabeth.
So I'll just open the floor if anyone wants to sort of share some ideas on what they're doing.
Elizabeth, I'll have to scoot because I've got another meeting in about 5 minutes, and I just need to go and get myself a cup of tea. Yeah, Lisa, I will craft the PowerPoint presentation and send that to you this weekend, as well as the poster presentation, isn't it? So I'll get in, yeah, and then we can revise them, and yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Mandy.
I'll just quickly ask Mandy before you go.
Yeah, hi.
I saw you put out a call for Journal of Pediatric Nursing, a special issue.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't. When does it close? I wasn't sure.
It's only just opened. Julie and I have actually just, yeah, it's only just opened, so that they usually run for 12 months to 18 months. So it's looking, if you have a look at the journal, the JPN, it's got like a blurb. So looking at, you know, child and family centered care, but mainly from, it could be, you know, the voices of children, but it does need to be within, like, you know, sort of a theoretical model. Yeah, and it could be adult proxy, best interest of the child. Yeah, and there's going to be another one as well, I think, in the next month that's going to be going out, looking at different methodological approaches and undertaking research with children. So, you know, like videos and play therapy, and yeah. So yeah, definitely submit things. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, well, you all take care. It's lovely seeing you all, and Lisa, I'll get those to you this weekend. Yeah.
Thanks, Mandy.
Bye.
I think the thinking of journal calls, there was one with the, that Karen Deprevink sent to me that I think I might have shared. I'm not sure if that's still open. That was the Journal of Supportive Care was looking for articles as well. So it's always interesting that sort of now different journals are actually starting to sort of recognise that a focus on family nursing, which is good. What was my other point? I was just thinking, the Nordic cancer. So Karen has, as the lead of family nursing in Europe, they have a European family nursing conference, which happens to be in Aalst in Denmark in 2024 in May. So apparently a very nice time to visit. So that's our European holiday for next year. I will get that in. I thought I had it as a brochure, but I don't think I actually have. I think I've only got it on the end of Karen's presentations. So I will send that out in the next newsletter. But yeah, so she was keen, and I'm one of their plenary speakers. That's
right, just, so is it family nursing or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, family nursing, yeah, general family. Yeah, no, it's the family. So it's the Amsterdam Ludwig and Swedish and the people from Switzerland. So that all those different family groups. Mari, I can never pronounce their names correctly. So a big group that they often meet. Well, they do meet regularly. They don't sort of have themselves as a chapter or anything because they were sort of but they're a bit like sort of the Americans have their things. This is the Europeans. So yeah, so that, and Karen leads that group. And so they had their conference was Norway.
Yeah, because I was going to that one.
That was in
2020
times. Yeah.
cancelled.
So this is then their next face-to-face one, which is in Denmark.
Right.
So yeah, so we can plan our next European holiday.
Why not?
We might need to find a bit of money somewhere if we're going to have it funded.
Yeah.
Anyone else? with points to share?
No, I just wanted to say thank you again to all you PhD students and postgrad students for coming along and sharing and being part of this. So, you know, please reach out to us if there's anything that you can that you think we can help you with while you're going through that fairly challenging part of your education and life, if I can say. So, yeah, let us know if there's anything that we can do to help.
Yeah, and I think it'd be great. I know that we all have a range of students underneath us, but yeah, to invite them to the meetings, because it is just that connection. And when you look at their sort of furthering their career, that they already have those connections outside of that supervisor arrangement, that they've sort of got strong both national and international connections. So, and I think it's just to sort of hearing other people's research and knowing, oh, that might be someone that I could connect with, because I know one of the things that we've all been quite open to is having that email from another chapter member of, you know, I looked at your research, I was interested, because, you know, I think as we have such a diversity across the lifespan, that we can learn from each other as we sort of build our own research. Okay, well, thank you very much again, and hopefully Hazel has taken some notes, because I've been trying to listen and take notes, but I did record it, so I think all around we should have something that we can report back to others. And yes, we'll get ourselves organised, and what we'll probably have to do is have maybe 1 or 2 quick meetings before the conference to make sure that we actually have got a workshop and some oral presentations to actually present, which are about our group. And yeah, looking forward to actually meeting Amanda face to face. I've seen everyone else face to face, but yeah, it'd be lovely. And we were saying that we have Israel is going to be there, Jisha, and also Karen's PhD student. So I think it'd be really neat to make sure that we connect and support them, and link them in with other students and new researchers to sort of for their own career path.
I was just looking, it's only 6 weeks away, right?
Yeah, no, I'm getting nervous.
Just sort of throwing that out there.
We'll get there.
I hope you all have fun. I'll be with you in spirit.
Yeah, thank you. That was a good, thanks Karen for that newsletter. It was very good. I appreciated seeing it. It brought back memories for me of doing the faces tool, you know, with children, and it was lovely.
I was very surprised at what I could knock out under time pressures. I've been putting in a big grant application, which just pushed everything, and Elizabeth's like, have you done it? I'm like, no, I haven't started.
She was like that with me too, don't you worry. The month before.
The grant comes
Elizabeth's
first, IFNA second. Sorry, guys, but
Yeah,
Yep.
no, totally. Well, that's why it's good to have that reminder, Julie, about the fact that it is now 6 weeks, because yeah, I do not like that last minute sort of help. So we will get ourselves organised so that I can feel confident when I hop on that plane, and then when we go to present with our maybe 70 people, that we've got a good strong workshop, because I think that really will then stand us as strong Australian New Zealand researchers to sort of point out to the rest of the world that we are strong in our family research. You don't have to be American to be a family researcher.
And I'll send out Sharon's my PhD student her time, so if you could, whoever's there could go and watch her, that would be nice.
Oh, totally. You know, we've already, I think we've already connected with her, haven't we, Hazel? Because she emailed us.
Yeah, she said.
Yeah, and I think I think we'd invited her to come along to the workshop. And I think the other thing to think about, Elizabeth, if we've got 70 participants, that we might want to actually rope the students that are coming into just providing a little bit of support in managing some of those activities.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. And Amanda, as you're now going to be a real person there, that'd be great, because we weren't sure who was going to come. So yeah, so maybe in that next meeting, I have everyone that's going to the conference physically, and then we can sort of have a discussion. But and we also we'll get there. I have confidence.
Yes, indeed.
That's about it. I just got to be able to walk. That's my trick. My knee's still not good, so I'll be walking slowly. But anyway, I shall get there.
Uber.
Uber, yeah.
Mm.
Okay, thanks so
Thanks a lot.
much.
Okay.
Thanks
Bye,
everyone.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Bye.